This video covers the ALEX topic, graphing a linear equation in the form y equals mx. So this is going to be our first introduction to the slope-intercept form of a line. So the slope-intercept form of an equation for a non-vertical line with slope m and y-intercept b is y equals mx plus b, right? And in order to find the slope-intercept form, if we're given something in standard form, like ax plus b, y equals c, we solve for y to get it into this form. Because this tells us a lot more about our graph than a standard form does. It gives us our slope and our y-intercept, where our graph crosses the y-axis. So if I have y equals 3/4 x minus 3, my slope is 3/4, and my y-intercept is minus 3. Here I have y equals 2x. That means my slope is 2, but I don't have any b added to it. I could add 0, right? So here the y-intercept is 0. And that's what we're going to practice graphing in this video is linear equations of the form y equals mx. So the y-intercept is always going to be 0 in this case. So a little bit about slope. So there's 4 types of slope. There's uphill slope, which is our positive slope, right? We use slope to describe the steepness of a line. There's negative slope, right? That's when our graph is going downhill. There's also zero slope and undefined slope, which we'll be looking at a little bit later. But in this video, we're only going to be looking at positive slope and negative slope. Slope, we define this over a line to be the ratio of our vertical change to horizontal change. So it's the change in y over the change in x. So here on this line, I go up 3. So my y between these 2 points changes 3. And my change in x at that time is just 1. So this would have a slope equal to 3 because I go up 3 over 1, right? Up 3 over 1. And we're going to practice graphing lines right now. It's very exciting. This is kind of like the key takeaway that I wanted everybody to get to in this class is graphing a line. It's something that a lot of folks struggle with. So if you have this down solid, you're going to be in really good shape for intermediate algebra, college algebra. You're going to be doing so good. So it's important to note that we need at least 2 points to graph a line. So for example, if I had 1 point, right, I could draw like any line through that point. But if I have 2 points, there's only one possible straight line to draw for those. So what we're going to do first is plot the y-intercept, which in the case of all of these is 0. And then we're going to use our slope to find the second point. And I'll show you how to do that. We're going to do quite a few examples. So this first example I'm going to do in blue. I'm going to go ahead and label this a little bit. I don't think we'll need much more than that. Very exciting to watch me fill in a number line, I know. Okay, so our first line has a y-intercept of 2 and a slope of 2/3. So that means I've got a rise of 2/3 and a run, right? Because 2 is my change in y. So like rise is up, run is to the right. So here I've got my y-intercept. I'm going to go up 2 and then over 3. So I found a second point on that line. Let me do this again. I can go up 2 over 3 and continue to find more and more points up 2 over 3 on this line. So then I can go ahead and draw my line. I try and make it pretty straight if possible. And we give it little arrows on the ends because it keeps going on and on forever. So this is a line with slope of 2/3. Okay, let's go ahead and graph this. It's positive slope because it's going uphill. We're going to go ahead and graph number 2 as well. So y equals 4x. This also has a positive slope, but 4 is greater than 2/3. So you're going to see that this line looks steeper. It's a tougher hill to climb. So this 4 is my rise, but then what is my run? Well, we're going to put any fraction, whole number is a fraction with run in the denominator. So we're going to go up 4 and right. We always go right. 1. So my y-intercept is 0. I'm going to go up 4 and then over 1. I'm going to go up 4 over 1, right? So I could find more points. I could even do the opposite. I could go down 4 and then left 1, down 4 and then left 1 to find even more points on this line. So let's go ahead and graph it. So see how this line is steeper because it has a greater slope. Our next two examples have negative slope. I am going to go ahead and clear all the markings so we can start over from scratch in order to see everything more clearly. So example 3, I've got y equals negative x. So that means my slope is negative 1. I can write that as a fraction over 1. So I've got my rise over my run, right? Now, normally we go up, right? Rise, right? But because it's negative, this time we're actually going to go down. So I've got my y-intercept. I'm going to go down 1, over 1. Down 1, over 1. Down 1, over 1, right? I can kind of notice a pattern. So this would be the line y equals negative x. It's got a negative slope. Sometimes we label our lines. Next, I have y equals negative 5/2 x. Now that is greater than negative 1. So it's going to go downhill at a greater rate. It's going to be steeper because negative 5/2 is greater than 2. So we're going to go negative 5 down, and then 2 to the right, right? We always go 2 to the right because our slope is our rise over our run. My y-intercept is 0. I go down 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then over 2. I could do this again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, over 2. You kind of start to notice a little pattern, but this is our line. This is the line y equals negative 5/2 x. So see, because its slope is greater in the negative direction, it goes downhill more quickly, kind of at a steeper rate.